consequences of your actions that you will see. What you sow is what you reap, and that's it. You can't change that. It's like this is a set principle. So if now you have a disabled person because they're disabled in this life, because in the past life they've done something wrong, why should you feel sorry and help them?
No, you're mixing up the words. So I don't say I feel sorry for them. I'm saying empathy, which means I understand and I can empathise that they possibly did do something in a past life that they are not aware of at the moment.
Would you help them?
A lot, yes. A lot,
Why? This is a punishment they're supposed to undergo.
Because we should help each other.
No.
A lot of people like you're talking about these.
May I explain? May I explain?
Yes, but let me just say, a lot of people who are disabled, who are going through a bad patch in life, I've had a shit life, I've had a lot of crap things happen to me. I'm at a point and I know that a lot of things that I've experienced are possibly due to things that I've done in a past life and things that I've done in this life, yeah? So I can
Now, I understood what you said.
I lost my trail of thought.
Sure. What I didn't understand this part. You see, look, as Muslims, we do not consider disabled people are punished because of their actions. They are full human beings. They are exactly like us, but maybe less able to do so because of their limitations of disability.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We as Muslims do not consider disability as a punishment because of what they have done in the past lives, because we don't believe in this cycle of birth and death or the laws of the karma. So we don't see the disability as a form of punishment. But I am questioning those, like including yourself, if you take this belief of karma, then you have to be consistently taking it throughout what it entails. A disabled person is a person undergoing a punishment because that person was a criminal in a past life. Now, if someone is undergoing a punishment, and if you ease that punishment, you are going to be guilty because you are helping the criminal to be punished less. They should be punished as much as they should be punished. If you go help them to carry their shopping,
yes.
Let me explain.
Yeah,
then I'll hear from you.
Let me
wrap this up.
Because I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that a lot of people are not aware that what they do has created something to happen in their life. So they deny it and they'll be very defensive about it. And so to have empathy with someone about it can help them to understand and think about actions that they've done in the past, whether it be a past life or this life, and to accept that so that they can create better times for themselves and for the people around them.
But I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about yourself. You accept the law of karma. That means, in your understanding, in your worldview, that individual who is disabled is actually undergoing a punishment because of their criminal act in the past life. So when a criminal is being punished by helping them, or let me help you to get up, or let me carry your shopping, you are easing their suffering. That means you are guilty by reducing their punishment. Do you see the consequence?
Another point is that if you show empathy to that person, and you believe that the law of karma is there in place to make the person elevate themselves by suffering from the wrongs they have done, or they should learn to overcome that bad thing they have acquired from the past life. Now, if that process is there to help that person to grow, now if you show empathy and help him, then your empathy is problematic, or your empathy is destroying his way towards development. So that's why your empathy is like. When you show empathy, that means you are hindering his progress. You are against his progress. Your empathy,
because they need to suffer.
Yeah.
By suffering, they will
I don't believe that I am powerful enough to do that. The Creator decides. So if the Creator decides this person needs help, then help will come for them.
But he's supposed to suffer.
Will come for them. If they don't, then it won't happen.
But I see a contradiction. Do you see it? I see a contradiction.
How
If this is a form of punishment, remember, a life rebirth death and rebirth, a cycle of life and rebirth.
Possibility. I'm not saying a definite.
But if you believe in it,
I'm very
understood.
open-minded.
But,
Very
okay, so we are explaining.
But I accept that that's a possibility. I also accept that we could have done wrong in this life, or our parents done wrong in this life for us to then.
We can examine these concepts, and
so
this seems like very incoherent to me. Because if that was the case, then that means a person who has done some wrong or criminal act in the past life, they have become in this life as a form of punishment. And if you interfere with this punishment, you are actually being guilty yourself, because you should let this criminal to punish what they punish. But you as a human being know that we need to help those people because they are less able to do so. So now you have a contradiction. Are we going to allow them to suffer, or are we going to help them? That's why the concept of a karma, life and rebirth and so on, is not coherent.
That's why I say.
It's not
that's
coherent.
why I say that's not in my power.
Yeah, agree.
I said maybe, and also I said I don't believe I'm not that
It's like
powerful.
helping someone. You kill someone, you want the person,
From your part,
Exactly.
if you show empathy toward a person who is already suffering,
Then I believe that's
Then
meant to be.
you know the
I
yeah,
believe,
you know that
that's meant to
saying.
be. I'm
Yeah.
following my heart.
So, I'm
I'm
following
following
you
what
because
Creator
someone
wants me
challenged
to
me.
where I am now,
I still
from
have
where I'm
to
supposed to be.
but
Like for some
showing-
reason,
but
to share
please
what
say
I'm
to me.
sharing, yeah, and you're supposed to be
Let's
here to
finish
share
this
what you're
discussion
sharing.
and give me a
If
few
I
minutes
wasn't meant to have a
and I'll go with you,
conversation
inshallah.
with you, we wouldn't be having a conversation.
So we-
okay,
we-
that's the same with having
yeah, we-
empathy for a disabled
no
person.
problem. We're showing,
I'm sorry.
that in-
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We're showing in two ways. Your empathy towards a person who is suffering is against yourself. It is a wrong deed. Even empathy, according to law of karma, your empathy is a crime on your part because you are hindering by showing empathy his progress.
I'm not going to invest that much of my energy in someone else. I may think,
But the
I may
possibility
think
that-
about, I may think about it in a way to have an open mind about what is going on here. Why have I had this communication with this person? What does this mean? But I'm not going to invest my life in feeling bad for someone who is experiencing something.
I get that. I get that. But
I've got my own issues to
But
deal
do
with.
you
so
see that
I can
even-
only maybe perhaps liken them to what I'm going through that will help me on my spiritual journey. Okay?
So that's what that.
Yeah.
You,
So I'm
you
not
see
going to
there.
become so involved with someone else's karma. But if
No
there's
problem.
a way,
No problem.
In fact,
there is a way-
I think what you're saying.
if there is a way that I can
Let me
make
tell you where I
them
agree with you.
aware that they need to be more accepting that perhaps they've done something
Okay.
to create the way.
Let me tell you where I agree with you. And this is the alternative view that Islam provides. Yes, actions do have consequences, but these consequences, of course, either it's going to be happening here in this life, or it will reserve one in afterlife, which is one life rebirth, not many cycle. There will be, once we die, there will be one resurrection for everyone. This is the day of judgment, where every single one of us will have to account for what we have done. So that's what you're alluding to, and we agree with that. So rather than having a cycle of birth and life and death, this, an incoherent as we've explained, the one that makes sense is indeed there will be a day of judgment where people will not get away with what they have done. So just because, you know what, they were rich and powerful and whatever, and they got away with it, no, not in the court of God, they will not get away. They will have to account for what they have done. This is what we agree, and this is the Islamic concept, where there will be a day of judgment. Okay. Islam tells us that these kind of empathy and feelings God instilled within us. That's why we feel it. It's when people totally go away from the message of God and so on, and they change their natural disposition, that's why they don't feel for the poor and the needy and the destitute. But in general, if we are not brainwashed, you would feel, if someone is hungry, you would offer them food. You would, because that's your natural disposition.
Nature, we're human
Yes,
beings.
it's only when people become so much changed in their human nature by greed and envy and so on, they don't see the other people like them. They say, I'm greater than them, I'm more powerful than them, and so on, and they do all this abuse and exploitation. Islam says, no, these are the disease of the heart. Get rid of this disease. Don't have envy and jealousy and hatred and bigotry, but have love and compassion, mercy, empathy, all of this. This is the message of Islam,
Yeah,
which you
but
are
at the same time-
which you are resonating with.
So we have all this, But at the same time, when we are focusing on other people's ills and their problems, so if we're focusing on other things, we're actually escaping from focusing on our own issues.
Not necessarily. You don't have to.
This has happened to me so much in my life.
But we shouldn't. We should not ignore our own problems.
We should not at all. No, that's right. So I've experienced this a lot in my life where I've had very serious issues of abuse in my life, and I have empathised and looked and helping others because it escapes from my own issues.
Yes, correct.
So we must find a balance.
Agree. This is why you will see, look, imagine now someone is having some pain, right? And then they realize someone's gone through an accident and feeling so much pain, they go to help them and they forget their own pain. That happens so often, situations like this. So that's why we could
do it today. I still fight with it today because the feelings are so powerful and so hurtful that I will look to other things to escape from it, and I'll say, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. It hurts too much to do it. Okay, so
if I were to ask you,
I'm aware of that.
If I were to ask
a lot
you,
of people are not.
if I were to ask you, do you see the suffering of children around the world?
I do.
Right. Do you feel? I'm sure you do. Look at Gaza in Palestine.
Yes.
Why are so many people become so much desensitized and they don't feel the pain the mothers and the children they're undergoing by the constant killing by this terrorist state?
Now I'm going to just share something with you
Go
because
ahead.
I'm sure that you will not agree with.
Mansur, what
So-
are you about it?
Sorry?
The killing, what are you also doing about it?
Do you agree they are killing them?
I said, what are you doing about it?
What I'm doing, I'm trying to raise awareness so people can mobilize and move and stop the aggression and stop.
So, do you believe in the golden
He's
rule?
spreading the
What is
war.
that?
That's
golden
more
rule.
powerful than someone going there and fighting.
Why?
Yeah, it's making people aware.
Anyway, what's your golden rule?
The golden rule
Yeah,
is
he's standing
It's okay,
there
brother.
making people
What's
aware.
your golden rule?
the golden rule is treat all others
Like you need to be treated.
how you want yourself and your loved ones to be treated, because our loved ones, when we see our loved ones go through pain, it affects us too. So that includes our loved
Do you
ones.
disagree?
However,
Do you disagree? We don't disagree.
a lot of people,
No one disagrees.
You'll disagree with this, I'm sure.
No, we just said we
all
agree with you.
All others also includes all animals.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everything that we do to animals is creating a discord on this planet, that we eat them, we slaughter them, we use them, and then we wonder why we're being used, abused,
Are you vegetarian
murdered.
or
I'm
vegan? You're vegan, right?
10 years.
Good, good. No problem. You can be vegan if you want to, right? Right. Do you eat plants?
I'm not going to go there with you,
Why not?
because,
Because the plants suffer pain.
okay, so first of all, plants don't have a brain. They don't.
You don't need to have a brain to
I
suffer
know
pain.
You've heard this before. A
They
brain,
don't need to have a brain to.
nervous system,
You don't need to have
they
a
don't
nervous
have a
system.
heart.
You don't need to have that.
I am very open-minded, and that plants do have an experience of life.
Would you eat a
okay?
dead fish?
No.
It's not feeling any pain.
It's been killed, but I don't want to have their flesh in my body.
That's a different
That's
argument.
my choice.
That's a different argument.
That's my choice.
But if your argument
Okay.
is, I would
no.
not eat anything that is sentient, that has awareness, that feels pain, then a dead fish, you can eat a dead dog if in that case, right? Because it doesn't feel
The
anything.
thing is,
But we would,
with
I
something
wouldn't.
that's already dead, the reason why
But-
people actually kill animals to
Okay.
eat them is because when
Yes.
something's already dead, it starts to rot. And so to eat
What would
that-
you feed your cat?
To eat a
Can I
dead
ask you a
fish-
question? What would you feed to
I
your cat?
don't have a cat.
If you had a cat, if you found a stray cat and you were so kind and merciful, you said, okay, let me bring this cat at home, right? It's hungry. What are you going to feed? Vegetables?
Vegan cat food.
No.
What is it made of?
It's made of plants. The thing is that I don't have a cat.
Are you going to kill the cat if you do that?
Are you just Are you looking at the benefit of the cat or
Benefit of you?
The thing is with a cat,
Yeah.
a cat is not a natural animal. It's a man-made animal. And the same with
There are cats in
cows.
nature, right?
Right, okay.
So what are you going to feed?
Cats.
What are you going to feed the lion?
So humans-
Vegetables?
So humans have.
Okay. Are you going to feed?
humans-
If you go to a country like Africa, there are many
Many
jungles,
cats.
right?
Okay.
And many lions in there.
Listen.
What are you going to feed a lion?
You're not listening.
I'm-
Okay. So humans
I want to listen to
have
you.
messed around with animals
Yeah.
and created animals
What about-
that suit us.
What about lions?
So lions are a cat. of
Good.
course, Right?
What are you going to
Okay.
feed a lion?
Why would I need to feed a lion?
Suppose that's your job.
A lion can feed themselves.
No, but the lions
That
don't
would
eat
not be my
grass.
job.
But the
That would not
lions,
be my
but
job.
we need to really understand that. In nature,
On
lion
this
does not eat
planet-
grass.
On this planet, that is not our job to feed
Okay, look.
lions.
If
Okay?
God created,
And it
So,
should
so
not be.
your principle was that you behave with someone else or some other beings in a manner in which you want to be treated.
And she said
So
we should
yeah,
extend that to animals.
suppose you see some lion is suffering from hunger or something,
Yeah.
and you should treat in your principle in that manner that you will arrange for the cat or the lion some
the
food.
lion is hungry,
Yeah.
just like how you would want to feed yourself, you want to feed the lion.
In
What
that-
are you going to
okay,
feed the lion
so
with?
In that situation, which is so hypothetical, it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? We are not in that situation. If I was in that situation, I would have to make a decision in that moment. And if it was meant to be, if the creator wanted me to save that lion, perhaps I would come along or come across an animal that had already died, just died.
They don't eat that food
I
like
could
that,
feed
but they
them.
want to eat.
But I'm saying this is such a hypothetical
But
question.
it happens.
My word is-
I cannot answer it in this
rescue-
moment because I'm not in that
Okay.
situation. Okay.
No problem, no problem.
However, I do believe
I accept your answer,
if
no
I
problem.
was in that situation, that if that lion was meant to survive, something would come along,
That's
something
fine.
would happen to
That's
make
fine. I accept your
that
answer.
lion-
Why does in nature lions don't eat plants and they eat other animals? Why?
I think that there are animals here that are
Who
herbivores.
made that law? God or someone else?
You are so rude.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
ask a question and then you go blah blah blah.
That was
blah.
rude of me. I apologize. Continue.
Pardon?
No. That was rude of me.
In that moment.
I acknowledge in that moment I was rude.
He asked
I
a question,
apologize.
I
Please
went to
answer. Please go
and
ahead.
Now I totally don't know.
Please
what
don't defend me. I acknowledge I was wrong. Continue.
I don't know what you said, so you'd have to repeat.
Okay. So did God make that rule?
Yes,
Did
okay.
did God make that rule for animals like lion to eat other animals rather than plants?
Okay, so my answer is that there are animals here that eat other animals and there are animals that eat herbs. And I think that they are here and they create a balance on this planet and it's not for us to interfere with that. When we interfere with what animals do, we create discord and disharmony on this planet. We shouldn't be controlling animals, we should let them do what they do and we need to be concerned with what we do. And we have free will choice, so yes, we can all choose to kill and eat animals, we can all do that, and I would say good luck on Judgment Day. That's what I would say.
Sure. So in our paradigm, God has created all of these things and He set a balance, set a rule. As you were speaking about balance and rule, He said that. God asks us, وَلَا تُخْسِرُوا الْمِيزَانِ. Do not destroy that balance. That means in this world, natural world, in economics, wherever, don't create a hole in the ozone layer everywhere. Do not disturb that balance. In this way, we know that God created certain creatures or certain living things that consume other living things. That's part of His created plan. So we should not interfere with that plan. So if human beings have been created with canine teeth to chew meat, have been created with enzymes in the stomach to digest proteins, then let us not interfere with that. Now, I'm not saying we have to force someone to become a meat eater. If you want to be vegetarian, that's your choice. But if a vegetarian wants to force us to say you have to be vegetarian, we'll have a problem with that. Because God has created us, and He says, do not take the lives of anything else like animals. If you are going to eat, only with the permission of God. That's why things like fox hunting, what are they called? They call fox hunting in the UK. When Prince and others, they go with their hounds and hunt a fox or a rabbit. In Islam, totally prohibited. Why? Because you're using this as a sport. You are making animals suffer. We don't do that. So when we slaughter to take the permission, take the life of that animal, only if you want to consume it with the permission of God. If we do not do that, this animal is not permissible for us to eat. Secondly, when we do slaughter, we want to make sure they don't feel any pain. So we try to minimize the pain by what? To slaughter in a process in which they don't experience that pain at all, with a very sharp blade. Have you ever had a paper cut? I'm sure you have.
jumping. You're
No,
just jumping
no,
all
no.
over
I'm
the place.
I'm telling you about paper. When we have paper cut, we don't notice this until much later, because much later is when we see. Because initially, when we had the cut,
Excuse me.
because it was.
Excuse me. It's very hard to concentrate on what we're saying when I have someone talking in my ear here.
Can you not
and
do that,
someone
please?
shouting over there.
I agree.
It's so very hard.
I agree. So let's start again.
And also, I must say, you do jump. To do like different things.
what-
I
I
go
am
to
giving you
answer-
illustrations.
Yeah, okay, but I'm going to answer one
But can I
thing,
finish my point?
and
You can
then
answer.
And then you go, yes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, in Islam, even though we slaughter other animals to consume only, we do that, number one, with the permission of God, and if you don't do that, you can't. It's not permissible
May
anymore.
I answer that first before you go on? Okay, so each time you eat an animal, have you personally communed with God in your heart and asked if that's okay for you?
God has already given us the answer.
Or, so you're saying it's already been answered?
Yes.
In a book? Written down?
By God.
Written down?
It's not written down on,
hang
by
on,
God.
But never personally to you?
Let me
Have you ever
let me
asked
let me reply that to you. God does not need to personally communicate to every single one of us, because he has modes of communication, and God considers the best mode of communication is not simply as you think you are, because now he can come in and say, you know what, God has communicated to me, and he has now made me a prophet, and he asked you to open up your wallets, your money, your bank accounts, your jewelry, your house, your car keys, and everything. What are you going to say to you? God communicated to you? You're going to have a problem. That's why one of the foolproof method of communication is God, when he appoints a prophet and a messenger, and gives that individual proof and evidence of that prophethood. That's why when the prophets and messengers come with evidence. Quran is one of those message from God with evidence. So I don't need God to tell me individually afterwards.
what evidence?
Okay, I'll tell you an evidence. How do we establish the Quran is from God, right? Like this book. A book needs to have some kind of statements, information, which reflects that it can only be from God. Only from God. So if this book tells you something that you only know yourself and no one else, and it discloses what's in your heart, you would say, how does it know? That's exactly what this book did. But that's happened in the past. But now, this book gives us information that you will say, how can this information come in this book? Like this book says the universe has one point joined together, and then God separated it, and now he's expanding it. How did someone know 1,400 years ago that the universe had a common origin and is expanding?
It expands and contracts.
We know that through our scientific understanding today.
It's going to continue doing that. It breathes like we do.
We know that today because of our science and technology. 1,400 years ago, they didn't have that technology. They believed the universe is this, it doesn't expand. So how you can examine that historically? That was the belief.
I believe that in olden times there was not so much crap going on this planet, okay? So things were much clearer. So when we done something and we received, when we sinned and when we received an action for that, like something bad happened, it would be so clear to us that that's what happened. So someone was able to write about that, yeah? So it's a common thing that happens to all of us because we're all...
To illustrate...
Let me share something else.
Go ahead.
Do you know that there's a language called legalese? Okay, so in the legal world, right, so the word legal, when you say it phonetically, it spells legal. Legal got in front of the spiritual laws and made people very fearful of legal rather than being fearful of God's laws, of the Creator's laws, okay? And now, hardly anyone can listen and hear the true laws in their heart because there's so much crap going on. The word heart also means father. The word father also means creator, okay?
Okay.
We all have a heart. If we do something that is not a love action and not a heartful action, our hearts will suffer. We will suffer.
Okay.
Our hearts will hurt and will become ill and decrepit. So let me ask you, is killing something a loving action?
Can be when we kill the criminal for his crime as a or animals. Killing animals unnecessarily, no. But killing animals to consume life, which God has given permission to, is a good thing. So
answer this.
I want to come back to my question in the
How
Quran.
am I still alive after 10 years of not consuming any animal or any animal secretions? How am I still alive?
How many living things have you killed for the last 10 years? Do you know?
Honestly, from the plants and the fruits that I consume that are bought in a shop, which I wish it wasn't that way, I am not totally sure.
I will tell you.
I know that I have tried to reduce as much harm on this planet as I can with my actions.
Sure. Have you ever?
The best I can do.
Have you
at
ever
the
taken
moment.
antibiotics?
I don't take any medicines.
Right.
I don't
So-
take any vaccinations. I don't
Right.
take medicines.
But-
I believe in
But natural, right? When you take natural resources, that can eliminate and kill bacteria. Yeah.
I've also
Have you killed bacteria?
bacteria.
Bacteria. Bacteria. Have you killed bacteria? Yes, you have. By taking all these natural foods, they got rid of from your body because you eliminated them. So you've killed them.
However-
Do you know how many life of bacteria you have killed? Millions and millions. So you are killing life.
However, in my life experience, what I'm doing, I'm not sure that maybe perhaps bacteria wants to survive in a healthy body. Okay, so if I want to be healthy, and I am, then
Are you okay to kill them?
no, it just happens naturally. So I'm not purposely killing something to survive.
Do you take vitamin supplements?
No, I don't.
Okay. But you take food which are healthy, which will eliminate bacteria.
Yes.
Yeah. So you are indirectly killing them.
Okay, so and that perhaps I'm very open-minded. I could go into very deep depths with you on this conversation.
You are already doing though.
Okay,
So-
I also
so that's
believe
why-
lots of things like
Sure.
we don't need to eat as much as we do. We certainly don't need to eat 3 times a day to survive.
Agree to many extent. We don't need to be glutinous
Fasting for very long periods of time is very good for us.
Do you know how our Prophet explained to us that we should fast intermittently, Mondays and Thursdays, for example? So you agree with a lot of things with Islam.
I've heard that not yours. I've heard that fasting to do with what do you call yourself? With
Muslims.
your religion, Muslims. Is that you only fast for a certain
There is
number of hours in a day?
There is an obligatory fast in the month of Ramadan, so you fast whole of the month. But besides that, you can fast anytime voluntarily, and there are recommended fasts that you fast on certain days, Mondays and Thursdays, and it's like you intermittently fast, and you know, even from scientific understanding, that it's good for you.
So also like with that, so I've heard that 3 days fasting is what it takes for the body to start resetting itself.
Yeah,
to start ridding.
to the detoxification and so on.
If we wasn't doing
Yeah.
those horrible things
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the first place, we wouldn't need to
Sure.
reset our bodies.
So
okay?
many of the things that you
So
said,
we're sinning, we're eating things that we shouldn't be eating,
Yeah. But
and
if
then
you
we
now-
need to fast to get rid of it.
but if you think about now, if you have a belief in God, and if God decides, and you understand that this indeed is from message from God, then you will have no reason not to accept that message from God, right? So if God says,
I'm sorry, could you repeat
if
that?
God gives us laws
Yeah.
for us to live our life, right? And you verify that this is exactly indeed God said that, you would not have a problem with what God has said, right? Because God would say what He wants us to live our life by, and He does things which are right, which is just, which is appropriate, or which is the best for us. So that's why we need to first establish, did God say that or not? And that's why the Quran comes in. If the book is from God, and God says, yes, it's okay, you can eat animals, take their life with His permission, then you would have no problem with that.
Is it not true that within the Quran there are many sayings about animals that even if you harm a sparrow, you will be judged for that and judged
No,
for it?
not in the Quran,
Something
but
like that.
there's a teaching of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that we should not harm them. That's why even when you're slaughtering, in the days of slaughtering, you have to take that animal away from all the others so that they don't see what's happening.
So I've heard that,
Yeah.
So can I speak about that? Even if I was shot in the back of the head and I didn't see it, or I was slit on my neck and I didn't see it coming, there will be a period of time, quite a significant period of time, that it would take for my body to break down, and that I would be aware that I was dying, that I had been killed, and so that adrenaline starts to rush around the body of the person or the animal that's been killed, that they're aware that they have been harmed.
Okay, we try to minimize that awareness.
So you minimise it, but you cannot stop it. Therefore, there is harm being caused.
That's
There's a life being
now,
taken.
this is where, in
There is a
principle,
life
this is
being
where we
taken.
are having
We
a
are
disagreement
not.
with. If God says it is okay,
We have no right to take others'
no,
lives.
if God, we have no right. Agreed. But if God gives us the permission, then we say it's okay. That's the difference.
And
we take what God
Where we
says.
differ is that you use a book for you to decide
We
that.
use the God's guidance, and you use
And
your own.
I use the
feelings.
Creator's guidance in my heart.
God has given us
And
the
each
same
moment-
guidance in
so
our heart,
if I-
but also in a book, so that we are not fallible in our emotions.
You are not in a survival situation. If I and you were in a survival situation and we were about to die if we did not consume an animal because there's nothing else to eat, then that would be the time to communicate with the Creator within our heart and ask, is this what I need to do?
And does the Creator tell you in your heart?
Yes.
How do you know that was the Creator?
I have been in situations that have sent me to my knees,
Uh-huh.
begging, crying, and asking God, what the fuck is going on here? What have I done to deserve this?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make it better?
And how do
I
you know it
have
was
been
God
answered.
saying? How do you know it was God?
I know because there are certain things that happen in life, spiritual things that happen.
That moment that
Hold
you
on.
received an answer.
I haven't finished. Okay, so there are things that happen in life
Walaikum salam.
that have a pattern and they have so you know the word coincidences, the word is actually go inside dances. Okay, have you heard that before? No. So it's
No idea.
so you know I said about legalese, there's a different language with legal, it's phonetic, it's a play on words, that's why it's
But I don't believe in this kind of etymology.
okay, but it's a
This is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy.
because they have
These are all
spelling.
conspiracies.
So
I believe in the
Go inside-
real etymological understanding
go
of
inside
language,
dance-
not this kind of things.
So go inside dances, coincidences
No.
happen.
Incidence is a word, co prefix to it has a meaning. It's nothing to do with what you said. So this kind of
That's your opinion.
no, it's not my opinion.
That is
When
your opinion.
in language, we can't just make up etymology. Etymology is the study of the root.
What's your name again?
I didn't tell my name. My name is Mansur.
Mansur. Sorry, you was introduced to me. Mansur.
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 Sur. R at the end.
Sounds like monsoon. What's that? Is that
R at the end. Mansur.
Mansur. Okay.
That's it. That's it. So what we are saying is, to understand whether you receive revelation from God or not, or communication from God or not, you wouldn't know. Because anyone can come and say, oh, I spoke to God, and God, just like I gave an example. He says, look, God told me yesterday, give me your car keys. What are you going to do? He says,
People can do that. They have a
Then-
choice to do that.
no, then
But what I'm
are you
sharing-
going to disagree with
what
him?
I'm sharing with you.
Are
That's
you-
up to them. I will
No,
say,
no, no, why are you
sure.
disagreeing?
I would say, are you sure?
He would say, yes, I'm absolutely sure. God spoke to me, said, you have to give me your bank accounts, your car keys, your house.
I can only be honest about my own personal
But subject, that's why now you realize, subjective experience, subjective
Meaning
experience.
that it's based on your feelings, your desires.
No. No,
Why do you say
so
that?
what I'm sharing is they're actually
No, please.
all involved with actual actions, not just feelings. It's not an emotional thing, it's not just feelings, it's a whole lot of experiences.
Yes, which is more the reason why it's arbitrary, because your experience will be different to someone else's experience.
We are all individuals.
So that means they have it. They have
we
a.
have a path, okay? So
Where lies the truth?
creatively,
Yes.
we have different interests, we have different skills. We have
I've got no issue with that.
yeah, okay.
But then what's your-
But then that's our our
but I'm talking about
purpose and
ethics.
our
I'm
path.
talking about morality.
Okay, but our purpose and our path to express ourselves and to experience life is personal to us, okay?
No, I disagree with that. Because what you're saying is that someone who has a different experience has a different alternate reality to yours. The question I would like to ask you is, why is your morality correct and why someone else is wrong?
It is for me.
But why is it wrong?
Why?
For others.
Why is your moral framework and your opinions and your feelings, why should that be the final say? Why
I'm not
is it
saying
right?
that it's the final say for you. What I'm saying
Then you,
what
in
I'm
principle,
saying
not disagree with someone slaughtering
I'm
animals.
sharing my
It's their morality.
with you,
Yes.
my personal experience with you, to share that I have experienced being on my knees, asking for answers and receiving them.
But the question is, how do you objectively verify that your opinion is 100% correct?
Because it is for me,
But
my
that's not.
journey.
But how can you verify that? If
How can I verify?
Yeah.
And why do I need to verify it to you? Why do I need to verify
because
it
all
to
this,
anybody?
because I've been listening to the conversation.
Yeah.
The crux of the issue is about animal suffering. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's why you
No,
came
one
up.
of the examples.
That's one of the examples.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
it's
shades
something
here.
that's come up here.
Yeah, but that's fine. One of the
It's the
topic we're
reason
discussing.
I'm here to share my experience
No problem.
on that. But actually,
you have
the
realised-
reason why Mansur came over
Yeah.
to speak was
What's your name, by the way?
to do with women, actually.
What's your name?
I'm Freya.
Freya. Nice
Freya.
meeting you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
Nice meeting you.
Freya, but have you realised throughout this discussion, maybe you haven't realised, you have realised that you've passed moral judgments on us.
No, I haven't.
You have.
No.
Do you
Okay.
disagree
Do you
with
disagree
us
with
when we
us?
slaughter animals?
Yes.
Do you consider it's wrong?
I do, but I'm not passing
Okay.
judgment.
When you say it's wrong, it's a moral
I'm
judgment.
not, I'm not saying. I think that people can be misguided, but I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm
Okay.
not
Now,
saying
if
that
you
you're
say
wrong. I'm not saying that you're bad because that's
Then
your
it's okay for us to consume animals. Then. Morally, it's correct according to your own moral framework.
What I'm saying is that is your experience and good luck on judgment day. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying.
we
okay?
have no problem with that because God has already told us that this is what His wishes are, that human beings can consume with the permission of
I
God,
feel it's-
other
I
animals.
feel it's very sad that people refer to books rather than referring to their own books in their
But
own
I
hearts.
think it's more
And I
sad.
think that when we
Yeah.
all are able to commune with our own hearts, we will find
That's
more
what the
common
danger is.
ground. We will find more common ground if we actually live by
Our hearts shouldn't direct
Do you
us.
believe?
It should be the
Yeah.
intellect, driven by the emotional aspect of the heart.
I
The
think-
intellect.
I
The
think
intellect
heart
tells
is-
us.
I think the heart, when we are truly in commune with our own hearts and the Creator, then everything is intrinsic and all is involved in each other.
This is where I think we
So-
disagree
Yeah.
profoundly. There's a role of intellect and the role of the heart. We should never only follow the heart. We should also use our intellect
How
that God has
does
given.
comes along with that.
Yeah, the intellect tells us
So
there
I'm
are
not-
animals
I'm not-
in the
I'm not
natural
saying
world.
Miss out the
No,
intellect.
Freya.
I'm saying
In
that
the
it
natural
fits
world,
involved
animals
in
eat
that.
animals. That means God has said it's okay. He made that rule. Are you going to quarrel with that rule? You said no. That means you're accepting it.
What I'm saying is, I cannot totally take what you're saying because you're going by a book that was written so many years ago.
So therefore, you passed a moral judgment. That means you are saying objectively that it's wrong. But
I think that
one second, Michael. But your whole moral framework is based on what you feel. Which, if somebody adopts the same ethical framework as yours, they can justify certain actions that you would think is immoral. Because the whole objective is to maximize pleasure and avoid pain. Someone can maximize their pleasure through, I don't want to name certain actions, but it's illegal. According to your ethical
it's
framework.
unlawful, which is more important.
No, but I'm saying that according to your ethical framework, if somebody adopts the same ethical framework as yours, they can justify their own concept of, what maximizes my pleasure and avoid pain. I don't need to say in front of the cameras, there are certain people who justify their action because I want to maximize my pleasure. But you as an individual who go by arbitrary morality based on what you're feeling, you can't prove to that person objectively that it's
I
wrong.
think that you're misunderstanding feeling with communicating with your heart. I think that's.
But this
it's
person
not-
also goes
it's
by
not
feelings, just like
but
you.
It isn't a feeling.
This-
There's such a range of feelings
Yes.
that to just call what I'm talking about to just like one feeling is,
For Freya,
is too narrow.
you should also have empathy towards the other person who wants to implement their own feelings.
I do have
Whi-
empathy. I do.
no, not me.
Well, I
Someone.
do have empathy for everybody in
No,
their life.
we're talking about certain actions that, in your worldview, is immoral. You have to feel for them as well.
You know, there are many
Do you get
people
the
who are
point?
very.
I think you're misunderstanding
No,
me.
Freya,
I just feel that
no,
I feel
no,
that
you
you're
should-
I think you need to be a bit more
Yeah,
graphic and not
a bit more
clear.
Should I be more graphic? I don't
A
want to
little
be
bit, a little bit.
I don't need you to say that some people gratify themselves by taking advantage
Self-gratification,
of others.
yes.
Okay, so you don't need to say
But
that.
why
I
don't you
totally
have?
understand
But
what
why
you're
don't you
saying.
have empathy towards them? Because they're just going by their feelings.
They're by the heart.
They're going by their heart.
People that do that have usually been abused in their own life.
That's your opinion.
That's your opinion.
That's also my experience because in
And
my
your
fa-
subjective
in my
experience.
family-
Within your own
in my
reality.
family, that is what I have witnessed. Okay,
Yeah.
and
But it
experienced.
doesn't mean this is the necessarily
That it
what the
does not-
case is.
That does not necessarily mean that that is the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
there can be different reasons. But from my experience with a lot of people that I've communed with and had conversations
Just want
with
to-
about their lives.
I understand your
it's-
experience, right?
it's very
But can I ask you one
common-
question, though, Freya?
It's very common that people,
Fine.
humans that abuse others, have usually been abused themselves.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of truth in there. But I want to ask one question. Do you have
Why doesn't it say in your book? Why did you not give the water to the human? You gave it to the dog. And he said, "Oh, that doesn't matter." And I said, "But you just said to me when I was talking about the animals, I put the animals first." But yeah, they didn't say it in the other way round in the Quran.
I feel for you
It says
the
woman,
same
why you-
animal rights activists?
I feel
dog,
for you
not the
guys.
human.
And there's
You didn't get it.
so much ignorance.
That's what I said exactly what you've done to me.
Yeah.
You said why don't you care about humans? You could have said that to the woman who went to paradise and given the water to the dog.
I really don't
Why are you giving?
understand.
What about all these humans who haven't got water? Why are you giving it to the dog?
You can tell.
You see the double standards?
I really don't understand this argument of why are you only caring about the animals and not caring about humans, because I think they're intrinsically linked. When we care about animals, we care about humans. When we care about humans, we care
But
about
it's on
the
their
animals.
it's on their terms. It's on their terms. So when it's in the Quran, it's alright. When it's one of us, it's obviously caring about the animals because somebody has to. There's plenty of people caring about the humans. How many people go on every weekend to Gaza? How many people are animals? And yet they still want us.
I feel for the animals.
I mean, where's the logic in that?
That's the point.
No, I think the logic is, with all due respect, the logic is, if you really care about the animals, you should also equally care about people in Gaza, for example. No one is saying you don't. No one is saying you don't. So if, for example, you are here,
Not dropping bombs, are they? Animals are not destroying them.
how, if you are someone who's really spending their time and effort and resources to talk about the right of animals, good thing. But also, it makes sense to talk about the right of men, women, children.
Why
That's,
should we have to? It should be a given. If you don't know it by now, how long is it going to take? 100 years, 200 years, 3,000 years? If you don't know it by now, you're not a very good human, are you?
good.
We're not going
So
around
let's return.
killing
One
people.
final question to you before I go. Freya, one final question to you.
Love animals here, okay?
One final question to you before. That's fine. I do. What,
You didn't.
I do love animals.
No, I said you didn't finish listening to what she was saying before you.
No, because that was a different conversation you were having between yourself. I only picked up one statement she made. I can have a conversation with her another time. But what I'm saying is, why do you have some hesitancy in examining the communication from God if you believe in a God? Have you examined this Quran?
I don't like to use the word God.
But you use it. You believe in
I
it.
don't like to use the word God when we're in conversations like this.
Okay. Do you believe
because
that
I'm
God
not
exists?
religious. I'm not religious.
Who created you?
A creator.
Okay. What about his communication, would you not want to know whether this is his communication?
What I believe is that
Can you give it to her if you want later on?
in all of the religions there are common themes, and I think it's very sad that people are arguing about what the Creator said and what the Creator didn't say.
Would you not want to verify
what
that?
the Creator ordered for us to do and what the Creator ordered for us not to do.
So you'd leave everything
It's very
aside?
clear to me that these books have been corrupted, and I cannot hear someone say other books have been corrupted but ours hasn't.
Because that's the facts.
It seems to me that they all have, and for whoever it concerns, for whoever it is profiting, it is very profitable for them, for us to be arguing.
Yeah. Here
And
is the
that's
problem,
so
though.
sad.
Here's
so
the problem,
sad,
though.
because we are the same.
But here's the problem, though.
We
You
are-
are throwing the baby with the bathwater. That's all I can say. It's with pleasure speaking. You're throwing the baby with the bathwater. You're not examining the evidence and the facts of this book to accept or reject it. You're taking it for assumption like, oh, every other book seems to be corrupted, so is the Quran. Do not throw the baby
No,
with the
I'm not
bathwater.
saying that. What I'm saying is,
Yeah,
what I said,
Okay.
So who's this?
what I
I
said,
have to go. Nice talking to you. Look after the animals, but also think about human beings as well, which is a given.
which
We need
is
to-
treat all others the way you want yourself
And we need to
and
be
your
vocal.
loved ones to be treated,
Just like-
includes all animals.
Just like we are
At all
vocal
times.
about animals, we need to be vocal about Gaza and the children and the women.
They are not suffering. You are to
Would you
yourself.
like to take a copy of the
They are
book?
not
I've got one, thank
You
you.
got one, yeah? Cool, have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Love to you.